So just wanted to make a quick video here for anybody else that runs across an issue similar to what I was having here. This is an ignition off a K7 GSX-R Suzuki 750, but I'm assuming most ignitions are going to be kind of similar in design. The general concept should be pretty close. So what was happening was end of last season, I started getting a FI code or an ignition error for a basically it was telling me there with the code that it was not getting the correct signal at the ECM or the computer there for the bike. These have a diode designed in most of these. Some of the newer ignitions might be even more advanced than that, but on this 0607 body style, the Suzuki GSX-R, that's what they used, was a diode to prevent cycle theft by an easy hot wire. So what happens is you get dirty contacts here, and this unit sits in here and then against these terminals here, and when these terminals here don't make good contact here, you can actually get additional resistance which will not read correctly at the ECM and the computer of the bike, which will give you that code. So what I had to do was kind of cycle the key back and forth a couple times, and the code would go away and I'd be able to start the bike and ride. But as the season kind of got closer to an end last year, the problem kind of became more apparent, started happening more and more, and just kind of became an annoyance. So I did a little research online. There's not a lot of information on this online. That's kind of why I'm going through this real quick. Here's the internals of the bottom of the ignition here. So I just wanted to kind of basically just go through that. So if you get the security bit driver that you need to remove the ignition from the upper triple tree there and remove it. Underneath there are two also security screws. Only have one in place right here, but just to show you, basically when you remove those screws, then you can disassemble these components. I've cleaned these now, but they were basically black and full of soot and dust and everything else, so I could definitely see where the connections could become an issue. Also, this unit here is, if you can see here and here, it's got springs in it there. So when those springs, you know what I mean, if there's soot in there and these contacts don't spring back properly, like I'm doing here with my thumb, you might not make a solid connection at the ignition there as well, and could have some problems there. So just worth a check if you're having problems at the ignition there and all the wiring and stuff is coming back good there and you don't believe there's an issue there. This is a bike that has some pretty high mileage on it, so I could definitely see why this issue kind of came to be. Maybe others might have a different problem. Maybe there's a break in the wire between the ignition circuit and the computer. That's usually easily tested through a continuity test. At the point, you know what I mean, you could check at the end of this plug here, disconnect the plug and check continuity between each wire, or check your wiring diagram for your cycle, and do a continuity test on the wire at the computer. Make sure you've got good connection there. Also, another place to check if you're having problems would be at this plug joint here where it plugs into your main wiring harness from your ignition. If you separate that and see any dirt or black marks or anything like that that doesn't look standard on any of the pins, like you're getting a weak pin connection or one of the pins is pushed back. Actually, looking at this one, it looks like I do have a pin that's not in place there in the middle here in the lower part there. That is probably a wire that just isn't designed to be there. But if you were to see something like that where a wire was supposed to be, like one of the pins was pushed back too far, that could also be causing a weak issue. It's always good to put a little dielectric grease in these spots, in these locations as well, to keep moisture and stuff out on a motorcycle. Of course, a lot of this stuff's more open than it might be on, say, a car or a truck. So just something to consider if you ever run into an issue similar to this and need to clean your ignition and put it back together. I'm going to spray some graphite lube inside here at the junction where the key turns here so that everything operates a little bit smoother. Also into the ignition itself. dry graphite lube works really well for this kind of stuff. It won't gum up and get gunky like some of the other lubricants will, like something like a WD-40. If you were trying to use that in your ignition that was kind of hanging up on you a little bit, maybe try some graphite lube there. And then on these other points here too, I'm going to put a little bit of that dielectric grease on these points here so that everything is making good contact. So that way, even if you do have a hang up somewhere, hopefully the dielectric grease will help make that contact for you on that electrical point. So, but yeah, I just wanted to give a quick video there on just kind of some of the components there, and if you have to clean them, kind of what to expect. Nothing overly complicated there. And again, like I said, lubricating these points and putting some dielectric grease will go a long ways after you clean everything. All right, thanks for watching.